Hi everyone, today we are going to do the poem A Tiger in the Zoo given in class 10th book First Flight. Freedom means a lot to everyone, be it human beings or be it animals. Have you ever been to zoo? Have you ever thought what the animals must be feeling behind the bars in the cage? Animals and birds are meant to be free. They are meant to roam free. They are meant to hunt in the jungle freely. They are not bound like us. Then why should we human beings confine them in the cage and put them in a zoo just for our fun or just for our entertainment? This thought is provoked by poet Leslie Norris in his poem A Tiger in the Zoo. Let's read this poem, understand it, understand the poetic devices, rhyme scheme, the summary and the moral given by this poem. So let's start with the session by knowing something about Leslie Norris. George Leslie Norris was born on 21st May 1921 in South Wales. He was a prize-winning Welsh poet and short story writer. He taught at academic institutions in Britain and the US. Norris is considered one of the most important Welsh writers of the post-war period and he has won many prizes. His notable works are Finding Gold, The Loud Window, Phoenix Living Poets series, Ransoms, Sliding, The Girl from Cardigan, Holy Places, and many more. Leslie died on 6th April 2006 in USA at the age of 85. A Tiger in the Zoo. This poem contrasts a tiger in the zoo with the tiger in its natural habitat. The poem moves from the zoo to the jungle and back again to the zoo. Read the poem silently once and say which stanzas speak about the tiger in the zoo and which ones speak about the tiger in the jungle. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage, on pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, near the water hole where plump deer pass. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. But he's locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage. He here is the tiger. Stalks means follows or walks, and vivid means brightly colored. The poet here says that the tiger is inside the cage. He is in the zoo, and in that cage, he is walking a few steps. Whatever boundary of the cage permits him, he is walking in that cage and he has brightly colored stripes on his body. On pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage. Pads are the paws of tiger and rage means anger. So this tiger who is inside the cage, he is walking from one point of the cage to the another. He is walking quietly on his velvety or soft paws. But since he is caged, he is confined to the boundaries of the cage, he is quiet, yet he is angry from inside. The tiger is not showing his anger, and therefore his anger is specified as quiet rage in this line. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, Lurking means to be hidden, waiting for the prey. And sliding means moving to and fro. The poet here says that this tiger who is caged inside the zoo, actually he should be in the jungle. He should be hiding behind the long grass in the shadow and waiting for his prey to come so that he can hunt. Near the water hole where plump deer pass. So this tiger should be actually waiting near a water hole. Water hole means a water body like a river or a lake or a pond where plump deer, plump means fat, deer come there to drink water. And when those deer will come to drink water there, he'll come out of the long grass and hunt the deer. So in the jungle, he can enjoy the activity of hunting. He can develop his skills of hunting in the jungle, but in the cage or in the zoo, he is all helpless. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge. Snarling means making warning sounds, and edge means borders. So the poet here says that the tiger should actually be outside in the jungle instead of being in the cage. And there in the jungle, he should be roaring, he should be making sounds near the houses which are just at the border of this jungle, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Baring means showing, fangs means teeth, and terrorizing means scaring. So the tiger should actually be going near the houses which are at the border of the jungle. He should be showing his white teeth and his claws, and he should be actually scaring or threatening the villagers, because this is what tiger loves to do. He loves to hunt in the jungle, he loves to terrorize the people to show his power. So if he were in jungle, then he would have done all this, but now he is in the zoo and he is completely helpless. He cannot do his normal activities. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars. Concrete means building which is made up of brick and cement. So unfortunately, this tiger who is so fond of hunting, who is so fond of showing his power, had he been in jungle, he would have done that. But now he is locked in a concrete cell, in a room which is made up of brick and cement. And all his power is now confined behind the bars. The bars are the bars of the cage. So now all his power is restricted and he feels powerless. Stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. So now what can he do? He can only stalk the length of his cage, means he can only walk on the length of his cage and nothing else. And he is now ignoring the visitors because now he has lost all the enthusiasm of life. He feels so helpless, he feels powerless that he doesn't want to show his power to anyone. So all he is doing is just ignoring the visitors and keeping quiet. So he has just suppressed all his anger and power inside him. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars. Patrolling means guarding cars. So this tiger, when he is inside the zoo, he can only hear the sound of the guarding cars which comes at night. He cannot hear any other animal's sound. Everything is very quiet and very lonely for him, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Stares means looks. So at night, all he can do is just lie down in his cage and just look at the brilliant stars in the sky, the numerous twinkling stars in the sky with his beautiful brilliant eyes. That is all a tiger can do inside the cage. By now, you must have understood that this poem is written by Leslie Norris to express the feelings of a tiger who is inside a cage. Now, here the poet makes a contrast between the life of that same tiger in the zoo and in jungle. How it would have been had he been free in jungle. Let me now summarize this entire poem stanza-wise so that you get a better picture out of it. In the first stanza, the poet is describing the tiger who's inside this cage. He is a beautiful animal with stripes on its body, and he is moving to and fro along the length of the cage because that is the only world for him right now, and all he can do is just walk. But while he is walking, he's quiet, and although he seems quiet, there is a lot of anger inside him because he is caged. In the second stanza, the poet expresses that if the same tiger had been outside in the jungle, then what would he have done? He would have hidden himself behind long grass near a water body, like a lake or a pond or a river or something, and he would have waited for his prey to come there. Prey here is referred to as the fat deers. He would have waited for fat deers to come there so that he could hunt. In the third stanza again, the poet is describing the power of tiger. The tiger which now lies quiet in the cage is actually a very powerful animal. And had he been outside in the jungle, then he would have terrorized the people. He would have shown his white teeth and claws to scare the people. He would have roared loudly to show his power. But alas, this all cannot happen right now because he is in a cage. In the fourth stanza, the poet says that he is now confined in a concrete cell. That is a room which is made up of bricks and cement which he cannot break, but he cannot go out. His entire power is only confined to that small space, and now he feels absolutely powerless. And whenever these visitors come there to watch him, he just ignores them because now he doesn't feel like showing his power to anyone. In the last stanza also, the tiger's nightlife is described here. Now, since he is lonely, he feels very sad inside the cage, and at night he can only hear the voice of the patrolling cars, that is the guarding cars, going from one place to another. And all he can do is just lie down and stare at the brilliant stars in the sky with that dullness in his brilliant eyes. That's all in the summary now, and let's have a look at the poetic devices used in this poem and the rhyme scheme used here. The poetic devices used in this poem are alliteration, personification, metaphor, and imagery. Let's look at each poetic device and the rhyme scheme with examples. The first poetic device is alliteration, which is the repetition of initial consonant sounds in two or more consecutive words. The examples of alliteration in this poem are plump deer pass, where per sound is repeated, he hears, her sound is repeated, and behind bars, ber sound is repeated. The next poetic device is personification. Personification is giving human-like qualities to animals or inanimate objects. Now, in this entire poem, the poet has referred to the tiger as he. So, the poet has given human-like qualities to the tiger, and therefore, it shows personification. The next poetic device is metaphor. Metaphor is used to make comparison between two things who aren't alike, but they do have something in common. The example of metaphor here in this poem is pads of velvet. When the poet is drawing a comparison of the paws of the tiger with velvet, because both of them are soft and smooth. Although the pads of the tiger and velvet are not alike, but their texture is the same. They do have common softness, and that is why this metaphor is used in the poem. The next poetic device used here is imagery. Imagery is used to create a picture with words for a reader. Now, in this poem, the poet has tried to create an image of tiger's activities both in zoo and in the jungle. Therefore, this poem depicts imagery as one of its poetic devices. Now, let's understand the rhyme scheme of this poem. A rhyming pattern is created at the end of the lines of a poetry. For this, we check the last words of each line. The words that rhyme are given the same letter, or else a new letter is given. As an example, let's take the first stanza of this poem and let's first underline the last words. The last words are stripes, cage, quiet, and rage. The first line will always be given the letter A. Now the word cage doesn't rhyme with stripes. Therefore, we will give it a new letter B. Quiet does not rhyme with any of the previous two words, so it will have a new letter C. But rage rhymes with cage, and so it will take the same letter B. Therefore, the rhyme scheme of this stanza is A, B, C, B. And similarly, you can find the rhyme scheme of other stanzas of this poem as well. The title of this poem is very significant to what is described in this. Of course, the poet has described the life of a tiger inside a zoo and outside a zoo. So, this entire poem gives us a broad picture of how the animals must be feeling when we captivate them in a small place. Whereas on the other hand, their actual power, their actual life, their enthusiasm lies in them roaming freely in a natural habitat like a jungle. So this title, A Tiger in Zoo, is aptly describing the very feelings of this tiger inside captivity. Agreed that human beings are more powerful than animals. We can tame the animals, we can train the animals, we can captivate the animals, we can curtail or take away their freedom. But then, are we being powerful in true sense? By snatching someone's power, we do not become powerful ourselves. So the message given by this poem is that freedom is a priceless thing, and it weighs for human beings as well as for animals, and this we must understand. We should love them unconditionally just as they do to us. That's all in this session, and I'll come up with a new topic in my next video again. Till then, take care that you note down the summary and the question answers that I'm going to flash in front of you. That's it. Take good care of yourself. God bless you and bye. Thank you.